is now behind you. The world is ahead.
The Hobbit turning 75 this weekend, a new movie headed to theaters in December. The question is, can the movie live up to the hype of this great book? We have Chris Farley. He is the editor of all things cultural here for us at the Wall Street Journal and a big Tolkien fan. You have actually negotiated with your son about this movie. Tell us about that.
Well, we have a rule that when movies come out of really great kids' books, he has to read the book first before he sees the movie. And I find that works very well in motivating him to finish these great books. And so right now he's making his way through The Hobbit, and he's really enjoying it. I wouldn't have him read a book he didn't enjoy.
Right.
And so when this movie finally comes out, the first part of it at the end of this year, he'll be ready and raring to go, and he will know the backstory before he sees Peter Jackson's movie.
So you're not going to make that same deal with Atlas Shrugged or Ulysses, I guess.
Well,
So, and
he'll read those in college, and I'm sure he'll make his own rules.
Exactly. This is no ordinary movie. In fact, it's a three-part series. Tell us a little bit about that and the idea. Do we need that long of a series of movies to get through this one book, Chris?
Well, it's somewhat controversial. Tolkien himself is really of a mixed mind about whether or not his books could be successfully adapted to stage and screen and radio plays. On one level, he kind of liked the money because he wasn't a rich guy. But another level, he thought you need a lot of space to really make these books live on the screen and in other media. And a lot of his fans think, well, is there really three movies you can pull out of this book? But of course, with the success of The Lord of the Rings, each one of those installments grows about $1 billion worldwide, roughly. Of course, Warner Brothers wants to get as much as possible out of this new movie, so The Hobbit has become supersized, just like what happened with the Twilight books, what's happening with the Hunger Games. They stretch out those books as far as they can go to pump as much money as possible out of the source material.
Breaking that last Harry Potter book into two movies. I feel like, as a huge Tolkien fan myself, and having read all the books and watched the movies, I feel like there's a lot riding, at least personally, on this Hobbit movie, because this is the first story.
Yes.
And it's the one as a kid that you become very attached to. I mean, I was just telling you earlier that when I was in 4th grade, my art project was creating a life-size poster of Gollum, who's one of the sort of creepiest characters in The Hobbit. And so if it's not done right, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot riding on it, Chris.
Well, I think fans have a lot in common with you, because a lot of fans are talking about the fact that, okay, he's not just telling the story of The Hobbit, he's also going into a lot of the source material. He's creating some new characters. This is Peter Jackson. He's stretching out storylines. He's altering the structure of the book somewhat to make these movies. We don't know exactly what Peter Jackson's up to yet until we actually see these movies, but he's clearly changing the game somewhat in terms of his approach, and so that's very risky. Because a lot of times with these fantasy books, people are telling the exact story, like in J.K. Rowling's case.
They did a great job
Adaptations
with it.
were pretty much exactly what she had on the page. In this case, Peter Jackson seems to be taking a chance. He seems to be altering the storyline. And can his vision for these works live up to the vision that's been so successful in bookstores around the world for 75 years? I mean, this book has sold more than 100 million copies worldwide, The Hobbit.
And I think something that's so ingrained in us, at least from a literature standpoint, when you start to just introduce new characters, it sort of throws you for a loop. You can't process it in the context you already have in your brain. And 75 years old this weekend, what celebrations are happening that we should know about for The Hobbit?
Well, this morning people were celebrating by having, and this is something that the publisher of The Hobbit was pushing, having a second breakfast, because hobbits famously are very, very hungry little creatures.
Right.
They have a second breakfast. They have something called 11sies. Altogether, they have 7 meals a day, and so they were trying to push the idea that you should celebrate the 75th anniversary of The Hobbit by having a second breakfast. I didn't get a chance to have a second breakfast yet, or even a lunch, so I guess I'm not being very Hobbit-like today.
I know, we don't feed people on lunch break. This whole show should be renamed.
Yeah, lunch break. This is perfect for Hobbits.
I know. I should be a Hobbit. I eat throughout the day. All right, Chris Farley, great stuff, and look forward to talking to you more when the movie comes out, more on
Thank you.
Speakeasy, our blog on WSJ.com. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks.